What's up, 316 fam? It's your boy, Pastor Cam, with Pastor Steph here, and we are here for another Pastor's Corner. And this week's in Pastor Corner, we want to talk about something that is so significant. I think it's just a really big deal, but I often think that we overglance it and we overlook it. And this is what I want to say: that Jesus was fully God, but also fully human. That is so important to know, that he's fully God and fully human. Steph, would you read Hebrews chapter 4, verses 14 through 15? And then will you just lead us in this conversation, the importance of that Jesus is fully God, but also fully human, and what that means for us?
Yeah. I think the humanity of Jesus is something that we have to really lean into to fully understand. Hebrews 4:14 says, "Since then we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then, with confidence, draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need."
Wow, that was a lot.
It was a lot. But one of the things that I love most about the humanity of Jesus is the idea that every single thing that we feel, he has felt. There are so many layers of the life of Jesus that have that I've been able to unpack over the years, that it's like you could sit in one of them for a lifetime. Cam and I are a blended family, and if you think about it, Jesus was also a blended family. Wow. Because he was raised by Joseph, who was not his biological father, right? So Jesus was his stepson in every sense of the word, you know, when you're relating it to our physical world. And what was that like? What could that have been like? You know, even between Jesus and his siblings and Jesus and his stepfather, there's so much we don't know. You know, we know about the beginning when Joseph was there, and there's so much of the rest of Jesus's life that we don't know. But just the experiences of rejection, loneliness. It says in another passage of scripture that he had no place to lay his head. Like, there are some deep sorrows and deep grief that he carried as a man. And something about that is so special because of how relatable he is.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100% that we often overlook the humanity of Jesus. And I think sometimes we get ourselves in trouble because we think we don't have a God that can really connect and relate to us. And I know we know that now in our heads, in our minds, that we have a Jesus that connect, but do we really know that when we're going through trials that we have a Jesus that can really relate and connect with us? I love that Jesus grieved. I love that Jesus wept. I love the humor of Jesus. Mm-hmm. I think one of the most areas I relate with Jesus as I read scripture is I look for the humor in Jesus. I mean, he is dealing with sheep. And I don't know if anyone ever dealt with sheep, but man, there's a lot of retraining, redoing, and sheep just aren't very intelligent. But here is he's fully God, but fully human as well. And the laughter of Jesus, I think of Jesus when he revealed himself to when Judas betrayed him, and he revealed himself to the Pharisees, and he said, "We're looking for Jesus." He says, "I am he," and they all fall down, and he just stays there and stands there, like, "Okay, get up, guys! You guys are supposed to capture me." Like, that to me is hilarious. When Jesus at the end of John, when Peter says, "I'm going fishing," and he begins to go fishing, and Jesus walks on the scene, and he says, "Hey!" They didn't recognize it was Jesus. They said, "Hey, have you guys caught any fish?" Like, really, you could said so many things. It's just like, "Hey, have you guys caught any fish?" And to me, that's just funny. It might not be funny to you, but I just find humor in Jesus because he can empathize with us, and he can relate with us. Jesus purposely crawled himself into flesh and felt everything that we felt. But I love the way that our mentor Craig Wetzoff says that he felt everything we felt, but he also lived this life. And he says this, he had excellence of soul.
He mastered his own soul.
He mastered his own soul, yet still like struggling. And you know what I think brings the most out of the what I believe one of the best pictures of Jesus is watching The Chosen, being able to see all the emotions and stuff come out of that. So if you haven't watched The Chosen, you definitely should check it out.
Yeah. There's a book by John Eldridge called The Beautiful Outcast. And the beautiful outcast is Jesus. And what this book does, what he attempts to do specifically in this book, is he takes your regular Bible stories that we read all throughout the Gospels, and he brings the personality of Jesus out of those stories. And it was so profound. I recommend the book because we read over these passages. We've been reading, some of us have been reading them for years, and there's so much we're missing when we're reading the text. And Beautiful Outlaw does this great, he just does a fabulous job of showing you what you don't naturally see, like there's more than meets the eye. And so you can see the life and personality of Jesus come out in these stories in a deeper way. One of the things about accepting the humanity of Jesus is the fact that he was both fully God and fully man. And of course that concept is just something that our brains I don't know if we can hold it all, but that is super important to really lean in to understand, because as he is walking around clothed in humanity, clothed with every bit of what it means to be in the human experience, he was still God. He was the God of Isaiah 6 that left the throne room and is now in the form of a man. And so what he did, and as Craig is even talking about how he was a master of his soul, even even to the point of death, which we read, it means that he submitted again and again and again to the human experience. We know in a couple different times in Scripture, it says that he could have called on legions of angels to deliver him up out of anything. So because he was who he was, and because he was the only man who had ever mastered his soul, his mind, his will, and emotions, he submitted to the Father. Submitted. He went low. I can't think of a higher form of humility than what we see that Jesus did. And he submitted himself again and again and again to the human experience, even to the point of death on a cross.
So good. So what's that mean for us today? It means that we have the person of Jesus, the Son of the Godhead, that can relate. Can relate to what? Relate to your situation. Relate to your circumstance. To relate to your feelings. He is a God that knows exactly where you are and where you've been. And that's encouraging to me. The scripture in Hebrews says that a high priest must come amongst the people. And we know that Jesus is the ultimate high priest. And he had, in order for him to be the chief high priest, or the ultimate high priest, he still had to come from the people. And so Jesus, in all his wonderful Godhead, God calls him to get off the throne and come down, and the most I want to say the word humility, but I just want to come. He just came down in the most lowest form. That's the best way. Thanks for your help.
I didn't know what word you were going for.
It came in the lowest form as a baby who needed to be dependent on everything else and needed everyone's help. But it came in the lowest form, and so he could relate, and he could be able to say, "Son, daughter, I know where you are. I know who you are, and I know what you're going through because I've been there. But don't worry about it because I've overcome the world.
Whew.
I've overcome the world. Man, that's a good thing to ponder on. Man, thank you so much for joining us for this Pastor Corner. Again, this isn't where a conversation ends, but it's where a conversation begins. We look forward to seeing you next week. Blessings.